Hi, everyone. Darren Lynch, founder and CEO of Irish Titan, here for another Ecomm Forum Whiskey Shot. With us today is Tanya Plaza from dotdigital. Hi, Tanya. How are you doing?
Good. How are you, Darren?
Good, good. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
So I'll just give a brief intro. So as Darren was saying, I'm Tanya Plaza with dotdigital. I've been with dotdigital for almost 6 years now, and in the industry, working specifically with deliverability and on the anti-abuse thing side of the business since 2008. So it's been a while. It's been a journey. Dotdigital is a multi-messaging platform that allows senders to be able to reach their recipients with the right method of messaging and get the best success from their digital messaging program.
Great. Well, thank you for that intro, Tanya. And thanks for joining the fun at Ecomm Forum last fall. It was great to have you there. dotdigital is one of the partners with whom we, Irish Titan, have the longest relationship, a lot of cultural alignment. We've shared a lot of shenanigans over the years with dotdigital. So we were happy to have you join us last fall. So let's jump in. Email marketing, dotdigital does a lot more than just email marketing, just to be clear, right? But I think that one of the things that you bring to the table is a point of view and perspective around, amongst other things, email marketing, right? I appreciate you saying you've been around this since 2008. You and I are both grizzled veterans in this e-commerce scene, right? But a lot of people, I think, consider email marketing to be a bit of a dinosaur now, given how long it's been a tool within the e-commerce space. I'm guessing you have a point of view about how relevant it is in today's environment world, or excuse me, e-commerce world.
It's very relevant. I think a lot of industry folks and on the different sides of the industry like to say that email is dead based on the emergence of different channels and the different ways that the younger generations are using technology. You hear a lot about, oh, email's dead. I think it comes out, you hear statements like that every year. And being in the industry for a while, as you have, Darren, it seems to pop up it's been going on for quite some time. And my perspective is that it's very much not dead. And if you looked at some of the stats that surround email, for every dollar spent, I think the Litmus study puts it $36 for every dollar spent is the return on sending an email. And it goes up depending on the industry that you're in. So it is still a very lucrative method or channel of reaching out to recipients. And those that say that email marketing is dead, they're not looking strategically at the industry and how, okay, the environment is changing and we need to acknowledge that. We need to acknowledge new technologies. We need to use those new technologies and be strategic about it. But all it's doing is making us look at our metrics and apply email in a different way, not in a way where it's dead. As you can see, it's still valuable to send those messages because there's still a dollar return on those messages, and it's still pretty high. I want to say email is still the highest return on investment from any marketing channel, but I didn't look up the stats before this, so don't want to say that and be misleading, but it's still a very high return on investment method of reaching out to potential consumers.
So a lot of different threads we can dig into in that answer. Let's start with this. How would you say that email marketing's really changed over the years and evolved? Like, how's it different today than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever time frame you want to block it within?
I think we've continued to move down the path of being, continuing to be very specific to, in as many ways as possible, to individual recipients. I mean, it started with personalization, right? Like, people want to hear their name in emails. Well, now people don't just want to see their name in an email. They expect to see their name in an email. So we've moved past that personalization piece of just needing to be able to show your recipients that you know who they are. Now they want to know that you know what they want to receive, and that that they would prefer to get communications or chat with you versus use an email to converse with you, but they still want to receive those coupons in the email, and they expect that you know that about them. And I think the way it's changed over, I would say, the last 5 years or the last 10 years has really been recipients just wanting more and more of that individual personalization that goes beyond just saying who their name is. And I think we've just continued to see that continue to grow.
Yeah, personalization is one of those themes that's been talked about for a long time at all of our conferences and get-togethers, right? It's a bit of a buzzword. And I think that for years and years it was talked about, but never really put into place or never really actualized, if you will. I think it has started to take shape now, right? Like AI helps with all the curation of recommendations, all of the reporting is so much more finely tuned than it used to be and more powerful. And we have better API connection between different best of breed tools that help really empower personalization. So I think that is a great observation about what's changed over the last 5-10 years. I think another thing that you mentioned is using email strategically, right? And I think that that is a really important point, because 10 years ago, nobody was doing any text-based, SMS-based marketing, for example, right? But email marketing existed. Well, now we have SMS-based marketing, social media marketing, email marketing, all these different marketing channels, which I think is where sometimes people and merchants overlook the value of each of those, right? And they might think email marketing is dead, because we do hear that, right? At the expense of realizing, well, no, there is still a place for it amongst these other channels. So talk about how to use it strategically.
I think it comes down to making sure that you are utilizing as much of the data that you have as possible. And I was just talking to a sender about this last week, about how it's sometimes tricky to pull that data, but if senders have the ability to get data from all of the different platforms that they use, and make their messaging decisions across strategically, not just for their email program, but SMS, email, social media, all together, if they can create a marketing strategy that uses all of those messaging methods based on the data that they have, those are the senders that will be the most successful with their email program, because they know what their recipients want to receive and what they expect. So therefore, they're going to be able to make those decisions based on what they know is going to give them the highest return on what they're sending, and not just email, but all of the different messaging methods. But email is a very important key part of that, and needs to definitely stay in the strategic planning.
Is there any segment, and I'll describe what I mean by segment a little bit further after I finish the question. Is there any segment that you think people should take into mind, or how should merchants take into mind segmentation when they consider email marketing? And by segmentation, what I mean, I'm probably misusing the term in its pure sense here, but either are there certain demographics that respond better to email marketing? Is it somewhere in the funnel between acquisition, conversion, and retention that responds better to email marketing? Anything? Are there any segmentation strategies that people should keep in mind?
Yeah, my answer is yes, but then the specifics around that answer are going to be around each individual sender. So when it comes to when you're building that strategy, the segmentation strategy, you have to benchmark against yourself. Even senders or companies that are in the same industry, or you'd consider a competitor, even those metrics are not going to be useful to benchmark your program against. You really have to look at who are you sending to, what are the segments that you can break down based on the data that you have. For example, the demographic situation that you were talking about. Each individual brand, they're going to have demographics that are going to respond differently to the messages that they receive. And they need to say, this demographic or this segment that's defined by this thing, they respond better to marketing that's sent via email, coupons or discount codes or whatever, or they respond better to the coupon and discount code that comes from an SMS channel. So it really depends on when it comes down to segmenting based on those different categories. Yes, do it. But I think in order to put more specifics behind it, it's going to really be based on each individual brand understanding their recipients so well that they're able to break down those demographics or the different use cases for segmenting.
Sure. So I'm gonna throw a little bit of a curveball at you because we didn't mention this coming into the call, but one of the things that you brought up at Ecomm Forum that I found the most interesting was your comment about how email marketing and really digital marketing is sort of falsely assumed to have zero environmental impact. Talk about that just a little bit, right? Because I found that really interesting because I do think people assume that.
It has an environmental impact, and you're right, I don't have the numbers in front of me, so I'm not going to be able to throw any stats at you, but there are resources that get used by the data houses and the providers that you use. There are real impacts that digital marketing companies have on the environment and ultimately marketers and senders and brands, because they're using digital messaging as a platform. And yes, the return is high. However, it is just something to keep in mind for those of us in the industry that maybe haven't thought about it in that way before. And I hope you don't mind, I'm going to mention why this is something that has come up is because at dotdigital we have an internal group called Dot Green, and what they do is they try to make sure the company is educated. We have a bunch of different groups like that, Dot Green, and other groups that work on different ways to interact with the company, and one of those is Dot Green. And they focus on making sure we're educated and understand the environment. We also were able to have a certification around it. We are carbon neutral, and we're looking at other ways to be able to offset our usage as well. And it's something that I'm pretty proud of us as a company for doing. And I recommend that other companies look into doing that as well. But that's why it became something that I was even aware of, was because of the education that we'd been receiving around even us as a digital marketing company. What is our footprint on our environment?
Well, that's great. And I certainly don't mind you bringing that up. If I can throw you a curveball, you can answer unedited, right? That's how it works. So let's wrap this up. Why don't you leave our audience with one takeaway, one item you want them to remember after they're done watching this?
Yep. Talking about email marketing and how it's not dead, there's one thing that I think if marketers just keep this statement top of mind, and Darren, I'm sure you've heard it before in many different ways from those of us in the industry, or even said it yourself. But if marketers and if they can really keep in mind that it's key to send the right message to the right person at the right time with the right frequency. If that phrase is something that you're able to think about as a marketer, break it down, and really work to sending the right message to the right person at the right time, at the right frequency, you will be able to create a good strategy for your marketing program.
That's a great nugget. Thanks for leaving that as a takeaway. Thanks for joining us both at Ecomm Forum last October 2021 for anybody that might be watching us at some point in the future. And thanks for joining us today, Tanya, for the Whiskey Shot. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Darren.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Look for more whiskey shots in our future. Sláinte.